vanishing folklore and belief.
Aesop's Fables, with Emblematical Devices, circa 1814, public domain reading. The Sow and the Wolf. A sow, a female pig, had just farrowed, given birth, and lay in the sty with her whole litter of piglets about her. A wolf, who longed to eat one of them, but knew not how to come at it, endeavoured to insinuate himself into the sow's good opinion, and accordingly, coming up to her, said, "How does the good woman in the straw do?" says he. "Can I be of any service to you, Mrs. Sow, in relation to your little family here? If you have a mind to go abroad and air yourself a little or so, you may depend upon it. I will take as much care of your piglets as you could yourself." "Your humble servant," says the cow. "Your humble servant," says the sow. "I thoroughly understand your meaning, and to let you know I do, I must be so free as to tell you I had rather have your room than your company, and therefore, if you would act like a wolf of honour and oblige me, I beg I may never see your face again." Application. The being officiously good-natured and civil is something so uncommon in the world that one cannot hear a man make profession of it without being surprised, or at least suspecting the disinterestedness of his intentions, especially when one is a stranger to us, or though known is ill-esteemed by us, will be making offers of services. We have great reason to look to ourselves and exert a shyness and coldness towards him. We should resolve not to receive even favors from bad kinds of people, for should it happen that some immediate mischief was not couched in them, yet it is dangerous to have obligations to such people, or to give them an opportunity of making communication with us. The Horse and the Ass. The horse, adorned with his great war saddle and champing his foaming bridle, came thundering along the way, and made the mountains echo with his loud, shrill neighing. He had not gone far before he overtook an ass, who was laboring under a heavy burden and moving so slowly on the same track that he himself had easily sped across. Immediately he called out to him in a haughty, imperious tone, and threatened to trample him in the dirt if he did not break the way for him. The poor patient donkey, not daring to dispute the matter, quietly got out of his way as fast as he could, and let him pass by. Not long after this, the same Warhorse, in an engagement with an enemy, happened to be shot in the eye, which made him unfit for show or any other military business. So he was stripped of his fine ornaments and sold to a carrier. The ass, meeting him in his forlorn condition, thought that now it was time to insult, and so says he, "Hey day, friend, is it you? Well, I always believed that pride of yours would one day have a fall." Application. Pride is a very unaccountable vice. Many people fall into it unawares and are often led into it by motives which, if they considered things rightly, would make them abhor the very thoughts of it. There is no man that thinks well of himself, but desires that the rest of the world should think so too. Now, it is the wrong measures we take in endeavoring after this, that expose us to discerning people in that light, which they call pride, after which is so far from giving us any advantage in their esteem, that it renders us despicable and ridiculous. It is an affection of appearing considerable that puts men upon being proud and insolent, and their very being so makes them infallibly little and inconsiderable. The man that claims and calls for reverence and respect deserves none. He that asks for applause is sure to lose it. The certain way to get it is to seem to shun it, and the humble man, according to the maxims even of this world, is the most likely to be exalted. He that in his words or actions pleads for superiority, and rather chooses to do an ill action than condescend to a good one, acts like the Warhorse, and is as void of reason and understanding. The rich and powerful want nothing but the love and esteem of mankind to complete their felicity, and these they are sure to obtain by a good-humored, kind condescension. The rich and powerful want nothing but the love and esteem of mankind to complete their felicity, and these they are sure to obtain by a good-humored, kind condescension, and as certain of being everybody's aversion, while the least tincture of overbearing rudeness is perceptible in their words or actions. What brutal tempers must they be of? Who can be easy and indifferent while they know themselves to be universally hated, though in the midst of affluence and power? But this is not all, for if ever the wheel of fortune should whirl them from the top to the bottom of society, instead of friendship or commiseration, they will meet with nothing but contempt, and that with much more justice than ever they themselves exerted it towards others. The wolf, the lamb, and the goat. A wolf meeting a lamb one day in company with a goat. "Child," says he, "you are mistaken. This is none of your mother, she is yonder," pointing to a flock of sheep at a distance. "It may be so," says the lamb. "The person that happened to conceive me and afterwards bore me a few months in her belly, because she could not help it, and then dropped me, she did not care where, and left me to the wide world, is, I suppose, what you call my mother. But I look upon this charitable goat as such, that took compassion on me in my poor helpless destitute condition, and gave me suckling, sparing it out of the mouths of her own baby goats, her own kids, rather than I should want for it. But sure," says he, "you have a great regard for her, that gave you your life, than for anybody else." "She gave me life. I deny that. She that could not so much as tell whether I should be black or white, had a great hand in giving me life, to be sure. But supposing it were so, I am mightily obliged to her, truly, for contriving to let me be of the male kind, so that I go every day in danger to be butchered. What reason then have I to have a greater regard for one to whom I am so little indebted for any part of my being, than for those from whom I have received all the benevolence and kindness which have hitherto supported me in life?" Application. It is they whose goodness makes them our parents, that properly claim filial respect from us, and not those who are such only out of necessity. The duties between parents and their children are relative and reciprocal. By all laws, natural as well as civil, it is expected that the parents should cherish and provide for the child till it is able to shift for itself, and that the child, with a mutual tenderness, should depend upon the parent for its sustenance and yield it a reasonable obedience. Yet, through the depravity of human nature, we very often see these laws violated, and the relations before mentioned treating one another with as much virulence as enemies of different countries are capable of. Through the natural impatience, proclivity of youth, we observe the first occasion for any animosity most frequently arising from their side. But, however, there are not wanting examples of undutiful parents, and when a father, by using a son ill, and denying him such an education and such an allowance as his circumstances can well afford, gives him an occasion to withdraw his respect from him, to urge his begetting of him as the sole obligation to duty, is talking like a silly, unthinking dotard. Mutual benevolence must be kept up between relations, as well as friends, for without this cement, whatever you please to call the building, it is only a castle in the air, a thing to be talked of, without the least reality.
Vanishing folklore and belief.